Welcome back to Two Jersey Kids. I am one of your hosts, Adam Buckingham, alongside my good friend of 10 years, Gary Seisel. Hopefully I don't sound too loud. We have an interesting setup for recording on this Thanksgiving because I am not actually in my apartment right now. I am in my parents' house, so I cobbled together a bunch of shit to try to record this podcast for all you lovely listeners out there. How's your Thanksgiving been, Gary?
It got off to a rough start this morning, as we all know.
We all don't know.
I indulged a little bit in the alcohol last night, and the recovery was a long one. So, I've recently ate dinner, had a great Thanksgiving dinner, and so far I've just been kind of chilling out, playing some Elder Scrolls Online, keeping tabs on my fantasy football team, and just trying to relax.
Before we get into the Elder Scrolls Online and discussing all that, can you please, because you said you've indulged all of us. You haven't indulged all of us. You've only indulged me slightly. So what did you do last night? Why was it such a struggle this morning for you, to record this podcast?
It was one of those unexpected evenings. I went out for my sister's birthday. She turned 30 yesterday. And we went out to like a nice restaurant. So I'm just like, drinking a little bit. And she's like, "Are you doing anything tonight?" And I'm like, "Oh, not really at all, anything at all." She's like, "Oh, you want to go see this band tonight? It's playing at this bar." I'm like, "Sure, what the hell? Got nothing else to do." So we go out. And, the rest is history. I kind of drank way more than I anticipated to. And within a short time frame, nonetheless, and it was a complete disaster. I was pretty bummed.
I remember getting your... Did you remember sending me a Snapchat last night?
Oh, yeah. I sent it too.
I was like, oh, that's why he can't record last night. That makes sense.
Well, originally, I was just like, I might be out later than I thought for my sister's dinner. But then it turned into a whole evening, and I was like, oh, my God.
Man, that would have been hilarious if we just recorded a drunk podcast together. I would be completely sober, you would be hammered, it would be fantastic.
It depends on what I'm drinking. Last night was a terrible thing because I mixed. I had at the restaurant that we went to, I had a Dirt Wolf, which is a double IPA, it's a heavier type of beer, and then I drank at the bar. I'm not drinking anything nice. I'm drinking like Coors Light, Miller Lite, but I was mixing all those together, and then on top of that, I had a shot of Fireball. And it was horrendous. It was a horrendous morning. We tried to, for all our listeners out there, we tried to record this podcast earlier today. That would have been bad for everybody. Including myself, I may have had to leave halfway through to vomit. I don't know.
He was struggling this morning, just talking, and the weight that was lifted off of his shoulders when I mentioned that we could just move it back, he was ecstatic. I texted him like 2 hours later, didn't get a word from him until 5 o'clock. I'm sure he slept off a good portion of it, or at least the turkey soaked up a lot of the alcohol that was in his system.
Thanksgiving dinner revitalized me. I was dying, dude. Even after I slept, I was still in bad shape. I was like, I need to seriously eat a huge amount of food right now, and I did.
Did you have a good Thanksgiving? Good Thanksgiving feast?
It was great.
Yeah, I had some turkey. What's your favorite besides... Well, actually, I don't know anyone that really says that the turkey is their favorite portion of Thanksgiving feast. What is your favorite dish during Thanksgiving?
My grandmother's mashed potatoes are ridiculous. She loads them up with like 100 pounds of butter, but that's what makes them amazing.
Butter makes everything great. But yeah, you took mine. I was going to say mashed potatoes too. Even though my cousin's mom or grandma makes like this amazing... I'm not a fan of like green bean casseroles usually, but this green bean casserole is awesome. It's sick. But like I remember now, back in Jersey when we would always have Thanksgiving at my uncle's place. It's such a random assortment of like foods. Like there was like stuffed shells, there's mac and cheese, and then there's mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce, also with turkey. It was like an unnecessarily amount of Italian food that was just put all over every table. It was insane.
There's nothing wrong with more food.
Yeah, even though it just left everyone in a coma, falling asleep on the floor because that's what happens. That's what happens to my brother all the time. this is like the portion of the year, because he's normally a health nut, but this is the portion of the year where he eats like crazy, and every time he eats like crazy, he just can't stay awake. I don't know if it's his body's just telling him, like, nope, you can't. I'm just going to shut you down now so you don't stuff your face anymore. But yeah, we should probably get into the games now. That was 5 minutes of us talking about random things. But, maybe people like that. So, you mentioned you were playing Elder Scrolls Online. I've been playing it too. How have you been liking it?
I think it surpassed my expectations. I think I have to say I'm kind of impressed with the smoothness of the game. I know we were kind of just talking about this a couple minutes before we actually hit the record button. But I have been impressed with the smoothness of the game. There hasn't been really any lag. There's been minimal load times, if any at all. But I've enjoyed it. I think it's, originally I heard that the game was like, bad and people didn't like it. But I mean, I've been enjoying myself for what it's worth. I think that, then again, it was $9 for me. If I'm spending $60, I might not be as happy.
Mm-hmm.
But for the price, I've been enjoying myself.
Yeah, I feel the same way. The fact that we have only paid, close to $10 for the game, it definitely is kind of something that, I don't know, it's scratched the right itch of video games that weren't scratching the right itch. I've been playing some Titanfall, but really online now, I haven't been too excited to go back to play online. I don't know, it feels great, but I don't know, just online shooters right now aren't just scratching the itch that I need, especially maybe because I'm just not playing with people, but I like Elder Scrolls Online because they have quests that have like some story, but it's not like crazy in-depth storyline where I can basically just play that and then also listen to a podcast while playing it, so I don't have to focus 100%. Like, there's some grindy portions of it, and I don't know, I liked WoW growing up, so it sort of scratched this itch of like going out and collecting and getting better loot and building up your character. And also the world seems like it's like really well built. You can read different just books and talk to a lot of people. I don't know, it just felt like it doesn't look as good as like a normal Elder Scrolls game, obviously, because it's an MMO, but it feels like it's packed with stuff, and I'm excited to go do more. Maybe we will finally play together and actually do like a raid or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the game for an MMO looks amazing. Honestly, yeah. It's clean. It looks right.
Yeah, I completely agree. It feels weird though. The recording right now, it feels oddly weird because normally when we record on Skype and it goes through my computer, we have two sections of like who can talk. So if I talk over you're able to be heard equally, but now it's only being recorded on one section, so I am consciously making sure I do not talk over you like I sometimes do, because your voice will get drowned out completely because I'm obviously closer and louder to the mic. So,
wow, isn't this an interesting episode?
Yeah. So I'm gonna be a little dialed back. I don't know if people are gonna like that. Maybe they will. Maybe they're like, fucking, I don't need more Adam and his loudness. So yes, this is fantastic. But I didn't even get into the spiel yet. This is 9 minutes in, and I'm about to get into the spiel. If you guys didn't know, Two Jersey Kids is a podcast that releases episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Tuesday episode being the episode we release Tuesday, obviously, but we go over the video games that are going to be coming out that week and give you a brief synopsis, and then give you our genius opinions and picks about what games you should choose that week. But don't hate us if you don't like the game, because, we didn't say we're geniuses or something, or maybe we did. Then we have this Friday episode that's in your ear holes right now, where we go over all the topics and news that has been going on in the video game industry and give you our opinions of what we think about it. Or if we don't have any opinions, we'll just, say something, try to make you laugh and giggle and keep moving on. Sound about right, Gary?
It sounds pretty much on point, yes.
But please subscribe to us on iTunes or the podcast service that you use. Please rate us. Every rating helps, and keep listening. And we keep interacting with us on Twitter at 2JerseyKids. We really love interacting with you. It's about almost 10 minutes in, Gary. Should we finally get into the topics? Do you think they would like that?
Let's rock and roll.
I think we should just keep going. I think we should just talk about nothingness for, the Seinfeld podcast. Just a podcast about nothing.
Just really piss people off.
Yeah, just start talking about salsa randomly. Salsa? Okay. First topic. Ubisoft comments on Watch Dogs 2 selling less than its predecessor. Chris Pereira over at GameSpot writes, there are indications that sales of Watch Dogs 2 could be lower than those of the first game, and indeed that proved to be the case during its first week. For its part, Ubisoft remains optimistic that the pattern won't hold true during the upcoming weeks. Quote, we're incredibly happy with critics and players' very positive reception of Watch Dogs 2, which should bolster support for the long-term success of the game, quote, Ubisoft said in a statement shared with GameStop. Quote, it is true that first day and first week sales for a number of big games, including Watch Dogs 2 and titles from our competitors, are comparatively low than previous versions in the previous years. End quote. For reference, software sales in the U.S. during October were actually up significantly year over year. Quote, however, we expect both Week 2 and Week 3 sales to be above traditional sales patterns. There is a trend towards games, especially high-quality games, having stronger and longer tails as favorable reviews and word-of-mouth spread. Watch Dogs 2 is already considered a tremendous addition to the open-world action-adventure series, and we're confident that millions of players are going to love it, end quote. All right, let me start off right off the bat. This game is not an action-adventure game. I honestly think it's just an action game. When you say adventure, I kind of think point and click. That's just me. But we've never defined what genres are because it could be different for everybody. But that's my spiel. But with actually the news on hand, what this article is going into, I'm not sure if this is a big deal with Watch Dogs 2 not selling that well. It did come out again around the time of COD and Battlefield 1, and those games are normally just black holes for any game that come out in between or after it or around it. Poor Titanfall 2. I don't know. What do you think?
Honestly, I mean, I don't think it's too surprising that Watch Dogs 2 is selling less than its predecessor because, the first one obviously kind of flopped a little bit. It was kind of disappointing, I think, to a lot of people, and I think that when you're going to release a sequel to a game that struggled originally, I think it's going to take some time to maybe build some momentum. Yeah. And even though this game may be very good, I haven't played it. It's not necessarily my cup of tea. I think that, what's my point I'm trying to make right now?
I don't know. What is your point?
Damn it. I lost my train of thought. What the hell? Anyway, I think that this game, it came out as getting some good reviews, and maybe that it'll actually end up surpassing Watch Dogs eventually. But like I said, it'll take some time.
Yeah, I honestly think that maybe it left, like you were saying, the original one, Watch Dogs 1, left a bad taste in people's mouths because they expected more. They expected more from the game. So maybe it sort of burned some bridges there, and now they're hoping that through word of mouth, people telling that, oh, this is a good game, you should actually check it out, even though I know Watch Dogs 1 sort of didn't live up to it. Maybe they're finally, maybe they'll come around to it. Maybe they'll have a longer tail. Damn, it's hot in my room right now. This is what happens when you go to Florida in Thanksgiving time and it's still like 80 degrees out. It's fucking insane. It's freaking insane. I like coldness. I like being cold, especially at night. No.
You can always warm up,
Yeah, that's the point. I hate being hot because you can never take off more clothes. You get to the point where you're completely naked recording a podcast and it's still freaking hot. Yep.
Yeah, here we go with the random topics.
Moving on. PlayStation VR named one of the best inventions of 2016 by Time Magazine. Eddie Makuch over at GameSpot writes, Time Magazine has posted its annual list of best inventions of the year, with Sony's PlayStation VR making the cut in part for its relatively affordable nature. Quote, in order to access the most cutting-edge virtual reality, people typically have to shell out thousands of dollars, not just for the headset, parentheses, like the $800 HTC Vive, end parentheses, but for a computer that's powerful enough to support it, end quote. Time Magazine's reported. Quote, Sony's PlayStation VR, by contrast, is designed to work with a console that millions of people already own, the PlayStation 4, end quote. It goes on. I just think this is a good thing for the PSVR that it's on Time Magazine's one of the best inventions. I guarantee you, the next commercial you'll see, it will be a quote on the commercial saying that this is one of the best inventions of 2016, and I'm sure they'll have a bunch of buzzwords related to it, and it'll help sell more units, hopefully.
Not to mention, too, anytime you can release something like this, a virtual reality or whatever type of invention is, anytime you can release like a new technology but cheaper than your competitors, you're already setting yourself up to be very successful.
Exactly. When you can undercut your competitors drastically, especially with something that people already own, you're definitely going to outperform.
And virtual reality too is something I feel like a lot of people have been kind of waiting for over the years.
Yeah,
you know,
that seemed like the first step,
but,
like to be advanced.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Should I move on, Gary? Do you give me the go-ahead to move on? Moving on! Blizzard unannounced first-person project and Overwatch campaign, ? Robert Purchase over at Eurogamer writes, on Blizzard's career website are two advertisements for an, quote, unannounced game project, end quote. The software engineer adverts cite working with, quote, a robust first-person engine for an unannounced project, end quote, and call, quote, previous experience working on first-person or other action-oriented games, end quote, a plus. That's it. No further clues. So what is the project? Our best guess, an Overwatch campaign. Which other first-person game and engine does Blizzard have? That's interesting if they actually do an Overwatch campaign, because it is just online right now, which is shocking that it's still doing well, because most just online games always get flack for being online and not having a campaign. So I don't know if a campaign will help Overwatch sell more, or will it just further the lore, or are they just hiring it for, you know, to better just a more expansion on the Overwatch multiplayer that they have?
I have a question actually for you, because you've actually played the game.
Oh God!
Do you think this is actually going to help the game series? I mean, obviously the online version had great success. A lot of people enjoy it. But do you think this is actually going to help the game at all, or help the franchise? Or do you think
having a campaign?
Yeah, would the campaign really? Would it be worthwhile to actually have a single player campaign?
I feel like people would enjoy it if it's built properly, using instead of, because I played Battleborn as well, and I wasn't a fan of the campaign because it just felt like the multiplayer just put into single player form with bots. But if they do a well fleshed out campaign, maybe do it episodically where they do each character and how they came into the Overwatch world. I feel like that could be very interesting. I feel like people would definitely enjoy it, going into the lore instead of just reading about it. They can actually play how certain characters finally made it into fighting, being an Overwatch person. I forget what the term is.
That's very interesting. Yeah, obviously I knew about the characters and everything. Like, I've been told other things by other people about the game. And that'd be very interesting, actually, to see that actually in a campaign for this game.
Because they have a great cast of characters. If you just look, there's such variety. It would be interesting to go and experience maybe a deeper level to these characters versus just character models or something you have to read online to gain lore.
True. I guess a single player campaign could kind of create more of like I'm not sure if this is the right word necessarily, but almost like an intimacy with the characters, and that you're not just playing a class anymore, but it's a character that you know and you love, that sort of thing.
You build a relationship with the character, and then he dies and you get upset, and it's just a whole cycle.
I don't know if that's really the best way to...
No?
I'm not sure how optimistic that is, but
no?
Okay.
You never know. Sometimes people get attached to random things. People fall in love with inanimate objects all the time, Gary.
Yeah, well, okay. I'm not even getting into that.
Moving on! Telltale's The Walking Dead, A New Frontier release date announced. Andrew Goldfarb over at IGN writes, Telltale announced today that A New Frontier, the third season of its Walking Dead series, will premiere worldwide on December 20th. That day, Episode 1 will be available for purchase digitally for $4.99 on PC, Xbox One, PS4, Xbox 360, PS3, iOS, and Android. A season pass containing access to all 5 episodes of the seasons as they are released will cost $24.99. For players who prefer a physical copy, on February 7th, 2017, Telltale will release a season pass disc containing the first episode and access to episodes 2 through 5 as they're released. The disc will be available for Xbox One and PS4 for $2.99 and is currently available for pre-order. So if you guys are into continuing the Telltale Walking Dead series, there you go. Season 3 is coming out soon. I know I've played Season 1. I was into it. Still have to get back to it. I've been playing it on Vita, which I don't know if that's the optimal way to play it. Honestly, I don't know if the optimal way to play it is on console in general, because it always chugs for me. Playing other games like Game of Thrones on PS4 had some issues, but I know PC it's always it runs well. I'm not sure about iOS or Android. That seems like an actually good place to play these games, because it's kind of just like a choose-your-own-adventure game. You're just following through the path, and then you're just making choices along the way. I don't know.
I was actually going to ask you about what these games are all about, because it's not something I'm entirely familiar with.
You don't know the Telltale games?
Yeah, it's not something I've really ever done before. I mean, I've heard of them, but I haven't really dug too deep into what they actually are. But you said there's one for Game of Thrones as well?
Yeah, there's Game of Thrones. They have some licensed property like Game of Thrones, Walking Dead. I guess Batman's somewhat licensed. Yeah, it's not someone licensed. It's I'm guessing licensed. But they also have their own version called Wolf Among Us. That's their own story. But they also have a Borderlands version, Tales of the Borderlands, which was in the running for Game of the Year last year. So people really enjoy these types of games. So if you didn't know, it was just it's a set, not campaign, but a storyline that you go through in your particular character. You interact with characters, then you make choices, dialogue choices. Characters remember what choices you make, so it affects the story farther down the road. Because I know in Walking Dead Season 1, you sometimes had to make choices about who did you save, who did you, if two people were getting attacked by zombies, you choose one, and they'll stay with you, basically continuing the story with that. It could drastically change. Like if you chose somebody else, then that would change dialogue choices down the line about, it affects your relationship with people. So
you're basically moving through the story. Are you really performing many actions, or is it kind of just like you're advancing like the story along, or is it like a full-fledged game?
Most of the time it's just dialogue portions. There are some action, I guess, but it's not really a gameplay. It's kind of like a click your own way through. Because I remember playing it on Vita, the original Walking Dead. There would be portions where you had to get away from like zombies, and you had to click certain areas in the screen, and then pick up like something by clicking on it, and then you'd be fine by then chopping like a dude's head off or something. That's like the basics, but definitely if they ever do release, I hope they do what they did with Game of Thrones and do like episode 1 for Tales of the Borderlands, because I heard people that never even played Borderlands that really enjoyed Tales from the Borderlands, that you didn't even need to be aware of what was going on, and you still had a good time with it. So maybe I'd check it out if they ever do release like a free episode 1 of something.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. I'll have to maybe take a look at that Game of Thrones, because I'm more of a Game of Thrones guy than I am a Walking Dead. I actually did watch, I guess, the first 2 seasons, or maybe 3 seasons of Walking Dead. I might have stopped in the 3rd.
Yeah, I got to like halfway through season 5, and I was like, I stopped watching portions. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. There's some shows where there's too many things happening now. There's too many shows being released. It's so hard to keep track. I don't have all the time in the world anymore. It's difficult.
It's true. Like right now, the only show I really have to worry about is Westworld.
Yeah, I need to get back into watching that. I'll probably do that when I get home this weekend.
Recommend.
I got through episode 3. I'm on to episode 4 now. It's been good, but I've been hearing it gets even better, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it's one of those shows that develops substantially over like a course of 8 episodes now. But yeah, I mean, everything becomes more clear, and I think that you learn to like the show more as time goes on and more things are revealed.
I've actually been because of Elder Scrolls Online. I can play and then watch something alongside of it. I've been watching on Netflix now How I Met Your Mother, because I originally never watched the show. I got to college freshman year, and people were saying how much they loved the show and trying to figure out who the mother was. So I got to the point, I think it was my sophomore year, where I finally, because it was the final season, I was like, you know what, I'll just watch the final season. So I watched the final season. Everyone pissed off at the ending. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it. Everyone's pissed off the ending. I was like, well, I don't have the attachment to these, to this whole storyline, so I guess I don't have an understanding of why it's pissed off. So I started watching from the beginning, and now even watching with knowing the ending and then watching it from the start, I kind of like the ending. I think it makes sense, but I think people, because they were going through this long journey expecting one thing and they got the complete opposite. But I've been enjoying watching that show because it's a pretty hilarious show on its own without story. Just so if anybody curious of watching it, but I would suggest watching it. But it's definitely a great show because you don't have to pay too much attention to the plot because it's a sitcom. So I can listen to it somewhat and then also pay attention to ESO when I need to. It's a good combination.
I don't want to further this tangent that we're on, but I feel it's almost impossible sometimes to end a TV show. Like, I can't imagine what Game of Thrones is going to do. I mean, is everyone just going to die in the end? Because that would be more appropriate. I feel like it'd fall in line.
A meteor is going to come down and just destroy everything. That's how it's going to end.
But anyway, I say we keep this train rolling here.
Yeah, and I feel like the only way... Sorry, I'm keeping the train derailed for sure. The only way a show can end properly is if they have a set goal in mind with set amount of seasons and don't have networks trying to drag out the show unnecessarily, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Which happens all the time. It's can you write 3 more seasons of this? Even though you didn't plan it, so cobble together some bullshit and hope it works?
Nothing worse than a show that drags on way too long. And Dexter was a good example of that. But that's a completely other discussion.
Should I move on?
Yes.
To this critical topic, everyone. Moving on. Ditto is now available in Pokemon Go. I know you're excited, Gary. Julia Alexander over at Polygon writes, the last non-legendary Pokemon from the original 151 to make an appearance in Pokemon Go, Ditto, has finally been included in the game. Ditto, which has the ability to take on the form and abilities of other Pokemon it's facing in battle, is finally available for players to catch. Players have started reporting that they noticed Ditto after catching normal low-level Pokemon like Zubat, Pidgey, and Rattata. Upon being caught, the Pokemon transferred into Ditto. Oh, that's pretty cool. From photos that players have been posting, it appears that Ditto being caught retained pretty high CP. The Pokemon is available to catch in every region based on reports, with players from Sweden, Australia, and the United States posting images of the Dittos they've caught. There was an update, confirmed that as of today, November 23rd, that's not today, Ditto is available to discover and catch in Pokemon Go. Are you excited that Ditto is now available? I know you're such a Pokemon goer. You were on it from the beginning. I know you're excited.
I am not, but at the same time, I will say this. This game has to be one of the most simple yet innovative games I've seen in years.
Yeah?
They took a simple idea. You just walk around the phone, and you're looking at you're finding these Pokemon. It's genius. It honestly is. Now, obviously...
I'm sure they had games like this before, but the fact that they combined it with Pokemon made it so successful, because everyone loves Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly. And granted, I've seen videos of people people are knocking on people's doors trying to get in their house because there's a Pokemon in their house, and I've seen videos of that, which I find rather hysterical, even though it's not funny for that person. But yeah, I'm not a Pokemon guy. I always like the cards and stuff, like the cool little pictures and everything, but it's just not something I never got into.
Yeah, I collected the cards, but I never knew how the fuck to play that card game. It seemed complicated. I was a young kid. I just liked the cards and watching the show and playing the video games. I didn't care too much about the card game.
I think, wasn't Yu-Gi-Oh! The more simple game?
Oh, yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh! I loved Yu-Gi-Oh! Playing that actual card game. Sort of made me get in that. I don't know if it kind of led me into Hearthstone. It didn't really lead me into it because Yu-Gi-Oh! Was gone way before Hearthstone started. But that itch to play those card games sort of made me like Hearthstone. I tried to get into Magic, never did. That's a lot of cards to collect, so I never did get into Magic. But Hearthstone, I feel that's where it's at. That's where it's at, yo. Moving on. Charity Bundle offers 151 games for $20. Look at that coincidence. 151 Pokemon, and now in this Charity Bundle, there's 151 games. Isn't that beautiful, Gary?
It's fantastic.
This has been written by Jeffrey Maltulif over at Eurogamer. Video game distribution portal itch.io is offering a collection of 151 games for $20 as a way to raise money for charity. Dubbed a good bundle, this collection includes such acclaimed titles as Gone Home, Read Only Memories, Panoramical, Soko Bound, A Good Snowman is Hard to Build, Cat Lateral Damage, and Proteus. 100% of the proceeds will go to charity, with funds being split 50-50 between the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, and Planned Parenthood. There's also cheaper versions of the bundle too. A $2 version includes 89 version includes 89 of the 151 games, while an $8 version offers 125 of them. However, the titles listed above are only part of the premium $20 bundle. So the really high-end games, you could say, for $20. But let's be real, $20 for Gone Home, and I'm guessing some of those games are probably Proteus. I've heard good things about. They're probably worth it, and also you're given to a good cause. I just wanted to include that if anybody was interested. It's icetch.io, that now, portal.
The games, how are they being delivered to you? Is it like actual? Are you buying that on like the PlayStation Store, or is that being like is a physical thing? Like,
I'm thinking these are PC games.
Right. Okay.
The distribution, it's kind of like the Humble Bundle works, where you buy those games, and then it connects to the Steam store, where then you can download them. I'm pretty certain.
That's ingenious, though. But yeah, it's a good cause.
Yeah, Humble Bundle too is if you guys have a PC out there. I'm sure you guys all know about Humble Bundle. I'm not like a new person to say this, but definitely check it out when you can. It's they got some good bundles in there, and for good causes. Moving on. December 2016 Xbox Live Games Gold has been announced. Julian Horsey over at Geeky Gadgets writes, Microsoft via Major Nelson website has today announced the new Xbox Live Gold games that will be available to Xbox Live Gold members next month during December 2016. The two new arrivals on Xbox One include Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. Definitely get, great game, with a record for free, and then Outlast will also be a game. So it's for Xbox One, it'll be Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition and Outlast. I know Gary loved Outlast. You're a big fan of Outlast. And then for Xbox 360, it will be Burnout Paradise, which is considered one of, I think, the better Burnout games, and Outland, a solid indie title. So if you're interested in getting some free games, there you go. Pretty good catch, if you ask me. All right, Gary? You like it? Huh?
I've never played 3 of those games, obviously, them being on Xbox One or Xbox 360. But Outlast, I have to say, it is amazing to me how these gaming these programmers can make games that have such an amazing atmosphere that actually makes you feel terrified. Because like I said before, I play these horror games and I can't get through them. I'll play like 10 minutes and I have to get off. I'm like, oh, that's it.
It's official, guys. We are pansies. I'm sorry. We cannot finish any scary games. Maybe when we get famous and have a YouTube channel, we'll play through scary games together so we can hold each other. But not yet. Not yet. But moving on. The next Assassin's Creed wants to dump main quests altogether. Dan Seitz over at Uproxx writes, Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft's attempt to teach millions of gamers about history and weird conspiracy theories at the same time, has skipped a year with no entry in 2016, provided you don't count this year's remastered Ezio games. But that doesn't mean that they're not hard at work on sneaking and stabbing, and apparently that sneaking and stabbing will take more of an open, less scripted form. While chatting with Le Monde, Sergio Mascoet, who serves as Ubisoft's chief creative officer, had a fairly interesting discussion of just where the franchise is heading. Quote, I don't want the player to go through a story created by someone. We have games like that still, but I ask more and more that we let the player write their own story, that they set themselves a long-term goal, identify the opportunities that are open to them, and choose not to follow a path that was decided for them. Or in other words, that's end quote. Or in other words, instead of the main quest, you get an overarching goal, a bunch of ways to achieve it, and how you get it done is up to you. They use Watch Dogs 2 as an example. So, how do you feel about that, Gary?
I like the idea, but it's got to be. I feel like you got to hope that those tasks you're completing to complete this big goal in mind are not like too tedious. I guess I'm not saying it's guaranteed with this sort of structure, but it's an interesting way of thinking about it. I guess if you think about it, like a lot of games we play, if I basically laid out to you, you have one way of accomplishing them. Even Skyrim, which offers a ton of choice, or between quests and stuff like that, you still have to follow one specific path. So it'd be interesting to see how they actually implement this and if they can actually do it successfully.
Well, by one specific path, do you mean you have to complete this? Even though there's a lot of stories, you have to complete this one section to keep moving.
What I mean is like. With Skyrim, the main story is the Civil War, or I guess the Greybeards, whichever one. But I'll use the Civil War as an example. You choose a side and then you fight battles and then it's over. But if we're doing this in this style, with like you can accomplish things in a variety of ways. You can like choose a side and I guess like just do missions
guerrilla warfare.
What's up?
Would you want some way to, besides just fighting right on the battlefield, some way to like do espionage and different type of ways to get what you want? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be very interesting. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think that what they're saying here is that they're going to have one big goal, and you don't have to follow like the one path. There's like several different paths you can take. Like trying to see how I can communicate this properly, but
kind of like Dishonored and how their missions are structured. You're saying so how in Dishonored you can do a lot of ways to kill, or Hitman. There's a lot of ways you can go about killing a certain target.
Yeah, you can be creative with things.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking. But in this case, it would be instead of individual missions, it's creative, as in of a long-term story that you can somehow get to the end goal without doing every like set path, I guess.
Yeah, and not to mention, I mean, obviously Assassin's Creed's been really like exhausted because they kept releasing games like, every year. This is a good way to kind of breathe some new life into your franchise, especially one that's been out constantly. You're not doing the same thing anymore. It's kind of like a different game again. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll be good for them if they do this.
That'll definitely help replayability if you have different branching paths. I know that's why people are playing Dishonored again, because some people want to go through because you can go through the whole game without killing anybody, and that's a set achievement. So I know people are going back through and trying not to kill people. It's kind of frustrating though if you get through the whole level and you end up killing somebody, because I heard stories. I think I was listening to some gaming podcast where they were saying that they somehow knocked somebody out, but he ended up falling over like the edge of like a window and ended up killing himself, which was unfortunate. So they had to start the mission all over, like stuff like that. It's kind of frustrating. I don't know how I got onto that, but I'm going to move on. I'm just going to move on. Should I move on? I'm going to move on. The history behind a $5 billion esports industry. Andrew Paradise over at TechCrunch write, I thought we should get a little historical. I don't know if I want to read it all because I'm a little tired right now, but maybe I will. According to Activate's recent tech and media outlook of 2017, annual revenue of esports is projected to exceed $5 billion by 2020. For comparison, that's more than the National Hockey League, $3.7 billion in average revenue, and $4.8 billion from National Basketball Association, also known as the NBA. Esports events are filling existing sports stadiums, including the Key Arena in Seattle, Staples Centers in Los Angeles, and SAP Center in San Jose. These are arenas that house professional sports teams like the San Jose Sharks and Los Angeles Lakers, Clippers, and Kings. Yeah, if you didn't know. But did you want me to go through the history of esports? I don't know. It doesn't really give you much, but would you like to know, Gary? Do all the listeners deserve to know?
I mean, if you want to go for it, go for it. I mean, I was planning on talking about some of the. Here's what I was going to say.
Okay. Back up.
No, I mean, I think it's amazing to me how esports has grown over the years. I think in the past it was. I mean, even I used to think, like, who would want to watch someone play a video game? But now here I am watching someone else play a video game because it's fun to watch. Like, people, I feel like a lot of these personalities now that you see on Twitch and stuff like that, they're more entertainers now than they are actually video gamers. Like, they'll play the game. Like, some are great at the game they're playing. That's why you watch them. But then there's other guys that are okay at the game, but they're just, like, it's kind of cool to sit down and, like, watch them play, and they're fun to listen to. It's very interesting.
You have to respect how well they can play the game, and these games sometimes require strategy, especially like MOBAs in general. It does require apparently a good amount of strategy, but I kind of want to go into So, started in the 1970s, quote, Star Wars was the highest-grossing film of the decade. Elvis Presley was #1 artist, and disco was at its peak. And in 1972, the first esport competition was launched with the game, quote, Space War, end quote, which took place at Stanford University. Students were invited to a, quote, intergalactic Space War Olympics, end quote, and the grand prize was a year's subscription to the Rolling Stone magazines. Woo! That's exciting. It would be another 8 years later before Atari held its, quote, Space Invaders, end quote, championship in the first large-scale video game competition. Over 10,000 players from across the United States showed up, proving demand for the new competition. Man, that was back in the 1970s. Gary, what would you do for a subscription to the Rolling Stones magazine?
Considering I've never read a page, I probably don't need a subscription.
Fair enough. Moving on. The 1980s. While the 80s wasn't a big decade for esports, innovation in the industry brought video games into mainstream culture with the introduction of the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES, if you didn't know, in 1985. The NES helped revitalize the gaming industry with iconic games such as Pac-Man, Legend of Zelda, Super Mario Bros., and Donkey Kong leading the charge. The end of the 1980s also brought about another console, the Sega Genesis. With more and more big companies investing in the space, it gave people their first taste of gaming and the competition that comes with it. I went through a bunch of accents on that.
Yes, you did. I actually think that, in a way, the 80s kind of paved the way for the esports, if you think about it. Because like a lot of games that came out during that time were, I don't know, like, with Mario, like there's like you can do certain things well, like do certain things faster. You can run through the game as fast as you possibly can, and I don't know. I just think that decade kind of set the table a little bit.
I mean, if you're talking about esports, Pac-Man, I feel like they ignored Pac-Man. Pac-Man was a huge thing with people trying to get a high score. I remember there was like documentaries on G4 TV about who actually had the high score in Pac-Man.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah,
my mom liked Pac-Man.
Everyone liked Pac-Man. It was more Miss Pac-Man that people enjoyed in the arcades, but, because it made it better. But moving on, the 1990s. The 1990s brought internet connectivity to gaming, which paved the way for esports movement. This infrastructure transformed the gaming landscape as new games let players compete online in tournaments for Quake and Warcraft. Blockbuster Video, yes, a video store, also ran a popular gaming tournament in the early 90s, and the latter part of the decade saw the rise of celebrated competitions. Tournaments established in the late 1990s included the Cyber Athlete Professional League, CPL, QuakeCon, and Professional Gamers League. PC games played at the CPL included Counter-Strike, Quake, and Warcraft. With the increasing regularity of organized large-scale tournaments, team federations were formed in the most popular games like Counter-Strike. Little did they know, Counter-Strike would still be going on to today.
I missed the 90s. Blockbuster going.
Blockbuster.
It's bizarre to me even think about it now that I went to a video store to rent so many of the games that I ended up buying.
Yeah. But you could rent them for 7 days, and then you could finish a game in 7 days. It was it was greatness. Like, because back then,
I never really finished games back in the day. Though, like when I was younger, I played the game. Some games I beat, but then like a lot of them I never really. I don't know. It was weird.
I know it took, like, I really like Mercenaries, but it never took me until, like, years after it was finally released for me to finally beat that game. I love that game. Mercenaries was fantastic.
Yeah, tremendous. I actually beat that game. I think I had cheats on, though.
Of course you did.
I was younger and didn't give a damn. But, like, it was ridiculous. You could have, like, you got, like, a weapons package where you could, like, shoot gigantic bazookas at things and, like, take down buildings. It was hysterical. It was so easy. With cheats on.
The 1998 release of the real-time strategy StarCraft helped pave the way for televised esports. Coverage of competitions for games like StarCraft and Warcraft 3 became regularly televised on dedicated 24-hour cable TV channels such as On Game Net and NBC Game. I didn't even know these were a thing. These channels went on to generate over $200 million in esports revenue in 2007. I'm now in the mode of saying like 2019 or 2016, but I go back to the 2000s. I forget that I need to say 2007, or I can say 2007. But moving on, today, Super Data Research projects that over 213 million people will watch competitive gaming this year, and the industry is on track to reach 33 million by the end of the year of 2019. I don't understand why people enjoy watching MOBAs, but that's just me. I don't know. I understand why people like watching people playing like first-person shooters or Hearthstone because there's a lot of strategy involved. I guess MOBA is like the same way, except for that's just not the type of game I've ever been into. I've been more of the card dueling type of person.
Yeah, I mean, I like watching. If I'm watching Twitch, it's usually something Destiny related or Battlefield. When Battlefield 1, when the beta came out, I watched people play that as well. But it's funny, like I watch Destiny streamers all the time, and I feel like I get better sometimes by watching them and seeing what they do and emulating that.
Same with Hearthstone.
It's pretty awesome. Real crafty. So he's the guy I watch all the time. He's just ridiculous.
Shout out. I'm slowing down here, Gary. The yawns are coming more and more. It's this is what happens when you stay up late last night putting together articles. Yes, I'm guilt tripping you. Moving on. Nintendo Switch could be a quote game changer and quote may have motion controls. GameStop says Eddie Makuch over at GameSpot writes. Quote, the Switch is a very interesting device. A movement-related game is more fun for kids. Taking those Joy-Con controllers and then the Master Controller, you can really do a lot of interesting things with that in gameplay. And okay, stop right there. We already saw that the Wii with motion controls was not fun. I don't know about you. I wasn't a fan of the motion controls, but that's just me personally. I didn't like playing Legend of Zelda and swinging the stupid Wiimote constantly to fight. That really wasn't fun. But
yeah, and that's the thing. Like I remember even PS3 tried to, do that for some reason. They tried to have I remember playing the first Uncharted. You would have to walk across a log, and you would have to keep moving your controller back and forth so Drake doesn't fall off the log. And it was,
that was the worst.
Come on, I'm just not.
They got rid of the rumble feature for that bullshit. The 6-axis controller.
Yeah, those controllers were shit.
Didn't you have to throw grenades with that in Uncharted?
Yeah, we did. I think it was.
Yeah, we did.
What happened was you would have it was a grenade arc like you would see in any other video game, but you would have to move the controller upward so the arc would go up so you could throw it farther. It was so stupid. I was just if Nintendo Switch is going to be a game changer, I don't think it should be with motion controls. Let's just.
Well, let's go into the actual portion of this article where it talks about why they think it's a game changer. After the Wii U underperformed, retailer GameStop appears to be optimistic about Nintendo's Switch console. Speaking during an earnings briefing today, CEO Paul Raines revealed that he played the console and came away impressed. Quote, Nintendo Switch, which I played at Nintendo a few weeks ago, we believe could be another game changer that will expand the audience for gaming, end quote, the executive said. Also during the call, management said earlier metrics show that GameStop PowerUp Rewards members are aware of and interested in the system. 27% of GameStop's PowerUp Rewards members who are aware of the Nintendo Switch plan to buy the console, the company said. This pre-launch purchase intent metric is in line with that of the Xbox One at a similar point in time. The company pointing out that this figure could go higher at a Nintendo Switch news event in January. During that event, Nintendo will announce the console's price, specs, and launch lineup. Reigns is just the latest to praise Nintendo Switch, as Skyrim director Todd Howard recently said he played the console at E3 this year and was blown away. Quote, probably the best demo I've ever seen, end quote, he said, the day that the Switch was announced. October 20th, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot said the console has the potential to, quote, redefine, end quote, gaming. That's pretty high praise from people in the business, if you ask me. So it may get people hyped.
I think it's good. I mean, what he says here, though, is he says he thinks that it could be a game changer and will expand the audience for gaming. So what does that necessarily mean then? I mean,
no idea.
I want this console to do well. I do. I think it's a cool idea. But when they're saying expand the audience, to me that always means that they're never going to actually cater to the real gamer, the hardcore gamer, because they're trying to bring in people that aren't gamers.
But again, this is not Nintendo trying to do that. This is people outside of Nintendo, from Bethesda, from GameStop, from Ubisoft, saying these things about it because that's the way they feel. It's not Nintendo going out there and saying, like, this is...
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I think that if this is going to, quote unquote, expand the audience for gaming, I'm not sure if that's necessarily a good thing for the real gamer that wants to play the console. Like, I'm not saying Nintendo is pushing that message, but
you're saying like if they see that more people that aren't core gamers, they won't focus on hardcore gamers. Like, precisely. Give them the games that they want. Just give baby games, essentially.
Precisely.
Gotcha. But in style with Nintendo Switch, keep rolling along. Ubisoft working on a Rabbids and Mario's crossover for a Switch launch. You know what the Rabbids are? It's like those random looking rabbit looking things, but they look creepy. Yeah. Gandalf over at Gaming Central, right? Recently it was confirmed that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild will no longer be a Nintendo Switch launch title, and that the next Mario game might mark the release for Nintendo's big device. It's possible that we know what the game might be after all. According to a report by Let's Play Video Games, the Switch will launch alongside a turn-based RPG, which is possibly a Raving Rabbids, and Cross Mario crossover. There's a cross along with Mario crossover. Okay. Currently under development by Ubisoft. There's no official title yet. There's by report. It would be interesting having a actual Mario RPG again, because I know people really enjoyed Mario RPG when it released back in the day, and also Paper Mario that had RPG elements, not like the stupid card bullshit they have going on with their Paper Mario Color Splash on the Wii U.
Did you say that game? Was that the game you said was terrible?
What?
There was one. I'm not sure which game it was. I think I'm trying to get off topic here. Oh, it was for Nintendo Wii. It was that Mickey game that turned out to be horrendous.
Mickey
game?
Epic Mickey?
Yeah, Epic Mickey. That's it. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to completely get off topic there, but yeah. Anyway.
I don't know if some people really enjoyed that game. I don't remember what my impressions were of that game, but I know maybe it was, if I didn't like it. It could be that I just didn't like the Wii in general, and if it had any controls, which I'm sure it did, with me pointing and clicking stuff and using a stupid nunchuck, then yeah, I would probably fucking hated that game, honestly.
Yeah, I remember you telling me how much you couldn't stand it, actually, and were disappointed by it.
Well,
but
younger Adam, there you go.
Article at hand. I really want to see a list of the games supposedly coming out to this console.
There are a bunch of rumored ones that I didn't put in here, but maybe in the coming weeks we'll understand more when it gets closer and closer to the reveal date, when probably more and more leaks will come out. So,
because I think that's really going to be like the real selling point for the console, because everyone knows it's Nintendo. Everyone expects them to have like their staple games, like the Mario games, Legend of Zelda, but I think that for a lot of people, a lot of gamers out there, I think it's going to come down to the other games that they haven't had all these years.
Don't want the baby games.
Like the Skyrims or whatever else,
We don't want the baby games, am I right? We want legit games.
Right on.
But let's be real, those baby games are also kind of awesome. That's
definitely true.
Yeah. Moving on. I like this. We're going to do this every single week. over at the Golden Cartridge, they spotlight different games that were greenlit, Steam voted, so they're greenlit, and I'm excited to do this just to give spotlight to these games that this website is also trying to do, which is, I think it's like a new website. So if you're into indie games, go check out the Golden Cartridge. Who wrote? Who writes this? Ryan Donovan over the Golden Cartridge writes, the evil known as the Sin Eater has invaded the lands, has gone through forests, corrupting everything. Did I start this article right? Nope. I started a paragraph earlier. That's what happens when you see pictures and you just keep going. The Keeper is a side-scrolling survival action game that features boss battles and combat system focused on combos, executions, defense, and counterattacks. Time will move between night and day, where players will immerse themselves in the world. By day, you'll be fishing, cutting trees, exploring, and searching for resources that you can use. At night, though, you'll be defending your glorious tower from something called the Sin Eater. These creatures are relentless and hold different powers. The evil known as the Sin Eater has invaded the lands. Its reach has gone through the forest, corrupting everything in its touches. In the midst of the forest sits a lone watchtower. It has been many years since this abandoned watchtower has seen action, but now an old farmer lives and guards it against this evil. This is no common tower, though. It holds many secrets that not even the Keeper knows of. Players will have to discover these secrets and find out what kind of power this tower possesses, as well as why the Keeper is guarding it this life. Are you seeing like the artwork? I kind of enjoy it.
Yeah,
I kind of like it.
It looks pretty awesome, actually, as does the description of this game. I'm really about, I don't know, it's kind of like the RuneScape fan in me. I love when I hear like, oh, you're going to be, in the daytime, you're doing these sorts of things, and at night you're doing this. You're cutting down trees, trying to survive. I think it's just an awesome, I love that kind of game, and this looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks pretty sick, so definitely check it out. It was greenlit for Steam, so maybe it looks like you don't need a beefy PC to play this type of game, so that could be good for people like me or you, Gary.
I may actually give it a shot. I actually may. And honestly, I have to say, it's interesting that after all these years, for all the graphical advancements we've made, people are still
loving this
companies
style.
are still producing these kind of games that have like that old school look, and people are still really a huge fan of that kind of thing. I think it's pretty interesting.
I still think because it shows you put time and effort into the artwork, and it looks beautiful, honestly. I've always been a fan of pixel art. Maybe I'm just nostalgic for games that I've never actually played. But should we move on to our final section, Gary?
Yes, indeed.
Well, this may actually be a longer one, and we're almost at an hour, so the Game Awards are going to be coming out soon. I think it's December 1st. I think the Game Awards are happening on I don't think they're actually being produced on anything else. I think they're on just you can find them online on different consoles. So I think we will go into different categories and see who we think is going to win that category. Sound like fun, Gary?
Deal.
All right. So start off, best multiplayer. You have Battlefield 1, Gears of War 4, Overcooked, Overwatch, Rainbow Six Siege, and Titanfall 2. Wow, Call of Duty's not even included on here.
Yeah. Man, who would win out of all those? Best multiplayer. So we had Battlefield 1. I think Battlefield 1, has a really good chance of winning. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to... It's pretty obviously a lame-ass opinion, but at the same time, all the buzz that the game received, and
I think this is an obvious choice for me.
What's up?
I think it's obvious for me what's going to win. Somebody keep track of this so we can tally up the score who wins.
What's your pick?
I'm going with Overwatch. I feel like that's just an easy choice. Everyone's been playing that online. That just seems like it's got to win just multiplayer. But again, I feel like if certain things aren't nominated in categories, I've seen like in recent years that sometimes they give games certain rewards if they're not in other categories that they know they're going to give. Like, so say if Overwatch is a different portion, like art design or something, they're going to give it to that, then maybe they'll give it to like Rainbow Six Siege, or if Battlefield 1 has like best campaign. But, I'm going with Overwatch. I'm not going to hedge my bets.
I definitely think it's a damn good possibility they'll win, considering I think how different the game was for a lot of people, how it's more of like a cooperative multiplayer instead of just like strictly competitive. You're trying to kill everything in sight.
Also, shout out to Overcooked that they made the nominee. That shows how good that game is. That cooking game made it to best multiplayer. It's pretty sick. Moving on, best sports/racing game. Guess they had to combine it, but gonna go through it. FIFA 11, Forza Horizon 3, MLB The Show 16, NBA 2K17, Pro Evolution Soccer 2017. 2 soccer games.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I haven't played any of these. I know FIFA 17. I think a lot of people are pretty positive about that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I know Pro Evolution Soccer also. I heard a lot of people really saying positive things about it. But I mean, my personal favorite out of this selection would probably be NBA. I liked MLB The Show, but I don't know. I mean, MLB The Show for me anyway. In the recent years, I haven't bought the game in a couple of years now. I just feel like it hasn't really changed anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of just the same game over and over again with graphical improvements, different rosters. Like they add some things.
Can't you really say that about a lot of sports games? Really?
Yeah, but like I always felt that MLB The Show used to be, at least it used to be it was really driving like different like advancements, like different game modes that we haven't seen before, that sort of thing. But I'm going to say NBA 2K17. I think it's great. One of the best sports games out there right now. I'm going with it.
I'm gonna say ditto. I'm gonna copy you. So neither of us will get a point advantage. I have a lock with Overwatch, so now I'm set to win. So I'm just gonna copy you. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think NBA 2K17 is a lock. Not a lock, but it's definitely a great sports game. These games are always phenomenal, and especially this year they took out that bogus storyline with Spike Lee, which I knew Gary loved.
Man, it's great. So good. So well done.
But
my God.
Don't count out Forza Horizon 3. I heard good things about that when it came out, so who knows? This is the difficulty when you're normal gamers and you actually haven't had the chance to play all of these games like some insiders have, which is we're not insiders, so you can trust us. Yeah. Yo. That's why you should keep listening to us. That just happened. Best strategy game. Civilization 6, Fire Emblem Fates, The Banner Saga 2, Total Warhammer, XCOM 2. Ooh, this is a difficult one. I'm between 2 right here.
I'm going Civilization. I think that it got great reviews. I think that a lot of people are positive about it. I think that the game just, no matter how much time passes, I feel like the game just continually improves and gets better.
Yeah, they always improve.
They've had a couple games or a couple things maybe in recent games that have disappointed people, but I think that this one actually did really well. I haven't played the game because my computer sucks. But you can bet your ass if I did have a decent computer, I could tell you more about it. But I want to pick Civilization 6 as the winner. I'm
going to pick XCOM 2. I've seen a lot of people play it. It looks like a fantastic turn-based, difficult turn-based game, turn-based strategy game. I'm excited because of the Black Friday sale that's going on for PSN. I picked up XCOM 1 for the Vita. So I plan on or XCOM Enemy Unknown, I think that's what it was, for the Vita, and for like $5. So I plan on playing that on the flight back. Should be exciting, or maybe some Dragon's Crown. I don't know, but yeah, I'm gonna go with XCOM 2 just to be different.
Dealio.
Best family game. This should be fun. This should be a blast. Dragon Quest Builders, Lego Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Pokemon Go, Ratchet and Clank, Skylanders Imaginators.
I'm going with Lego Star Wars. Actually, no, sorry. I'm going. That's what I thought at first before I saw Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go wins. I think
You think that's a lock?
Because it's more than a game. It's like a cultural thing now. So many people it's like a movement. So many people went out, and so many people that didn't even play video games really, just like got the app on their phone.
Yeah.
And it's like become like, it's not very often you see a game out in the public. I think it's just such a different thing that you never usually see, and I think that's why it's going to win. I think it was just innovative, and it was the perfect time to release that kind of game.
I really want to say Ratchet and Clank, because I've heard great things that they remade the original game that I loved and enjoyed in PlayStation. It looks beautiful. They redid story portions, story elements of it. That it's not just this copy and paste type of game. I know a lot of people have loved it. It's like a pretty funny game apparently. So I'm gonna go with Ratchet and Clank, even though I could see it that Ratchet and Clank pops up in the future for different categories, and they go with it then. So Pokemon Go, not gonna lie, is a pretty good choice, Gary. I think you have a pretty good lock right there. Not gonna lie.
Yes, sir.
Best fighting game, because me and Gary are the best when it comes to fighting games. We know everything. By that I mean we know nothing. Killer Instinct Season 3, King of Fighters, I don't even know what that is, 14, Pokken Tournament, Street Fighter 5. I have no fucking idea what I'm going to pick.
Street Fighter. Fuck it.
Alright, I'm going to choose a Pokken Tournament because it's Pokemon fighting in an arena. Why fucking not? Move on. Fighting games aren't our thing. Best role-playing game, now this is something we can get into. Dark Souls 3, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Blood and Wine. Is that really considered a game? Didn't it release last year? Is it the DLC that they put into this?
DLC
is that really fair?
Yeah.
World of Warcraft Legion, Xenoblade Chronicles 10, or X.
Okay, so I don't necessarily think that Witcher... I think everyone loves The Witcher, obviously, or at least most people I've talked to. I don't know if they're going to win. It's so hard to say.
I don't think they're going to win with their DLC.
But it's kind of like the DLC,
Yeah.
Not be. So I'm going to say Dark Souls 3.
Fuck you, man. Stop taking my choices. Fuck. I was going to say Dark Souls 3, too. I can see a lot of these games winning. But maybe they include Witcher 3, Wild Hunt, Blood and Wine just because... it's such a large game. I don't know.
Beats me. I'm not an expert.
You're not an expert?
Apparently not. I'm a genius. I'm just not an expert on gaming.
You're not expert on... That's pretty upsetting, Gary. Man, that was May 2015 that it released? Holy shit, that seems like forever ago. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I'll go with Dark Souls 3. I love Dark Souls 3. I love playing through it. I'm so upset that I never got to finish it. But I stepped away. I think it was like Uncharted took me away from it. And Dark Souls 3 is something you can never just hop right back into it, especially when you're farther along. I know I've said this before in previous podcasts. But yeah, I love me some Dark Souls 3. But move on. Best action/adventure game. You have Dishonored 2, Hitman, Hyper Light Drifter. Oh, I know what I'm picking. If that didn't give it away. Oh, here's Ratchet and Clank and Uncharted 4, Thief's End.
So I don't think that Uncharted 4 is going to win, but I'm going to pick it simply because I love the game. Love the characters, obviously, in the game. It's also the one I had the most experience with. Mm-hmm. So Uncharted 4 for me.
I'm not going to pick Uncharted 4 because I feel like it's in the running for Game of the Year, and I feel like it's going to win that category, so that may be a little hint of what I'm going to choose, but I'm going to go with Hyper Light Drifter. I love that fucking game. And I feel like this is the only category it's in, unless it's Best Indie Game, which it could win, but I really enjoyed the action, the fluid gameplay of Hyper Light Drifter, and that's why I'm going to go with it. Straightforward. Okay, I don't get this. It says action/adventure game. Now it's best action game. Okay.
Yeah, apparently there's defined genres between action. I don't know.
Battlefield 1, Doom, Gears of War 4, Overwatch, Titanfall 2.
I think I want to pick Battlefield 1. I think that the combination of the great story apparently in the game with the different way of telling the story, the episodes, different characters, and then I think with the multiplayer as well, returning to. I mean, I've heard people talk about I've heard real Battlefield fans say it feels more like the Battlefield they know or they used to know. So I think that the combination of those two things, the single player and the multiplayer, is going to make Battlefield 1 the winner.
I am going to go with, because here's Overwatch here, but I don't know if it, for action genre, I don't know if it has the whole package to be an action game. It doesn't have like a single player component of it. I'm upset that I never played Gears of War 4, which I've heard good things about. I need to get around to that. So many games. But I'm going to go with the critical darling that everyone seems to love, and I feel like it's going to get an award. head here just because also people feel bad that it's released in between COD and Battlefield 1. And yes, I'm talking about Titanfall 2. I am choosing Titanfall 2 for the best action game. Love the straightforward story. I don't know about loved, but I really enjoyed the straightforward story. It was a short story, not too crazy things going on. I really like the action set pieces that they had going for it, the different mercenaries that you had to fight, their personalities. The online multiplayer is fantastic, so that's why I'm going to go with Titanfall 2. Moving on. Best VR game, because we know all about VR. Should we just skip this one because we have no input?
Sure thing.
Yeah, we haven't played VR yet, so that's just a toss-up. Best mobile/handheld game. Oh, yeah. These are going to be solid. Clash Royale, Fire Emblem Fates, Monster Hunter Generations, Pokemon Go, Severed. Oh, I think you maybe pulled the trigger too soon on Pokemon Go, man.
I'm still going to choose Pokemon Go.
Yeah, for this one, I'm going to choose Pokemon Go, too. That seems like it fits the perfect. It was such a phenomenon when it came out, and to this day, people still play it. Best independent game. Firewatch, Hyper Light Drifter, here it is. That's like I thought. Inside, Stardew Valley, The Witness. Whoo! Those are some difficult choices right there. Those are some solid indie games, not gonna lie.
I'm gonna say, I don't know. Firewatch I heard was good, and then I heard there were some negatives to it. Like I saw some people gave it like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. So I'm not sure I'm going to really pull the trigger on that. I'm going to actually go with a game I'm not really that familiar with, but I've heard good things about, Hyper Light Drifter. I'm sure it'll make you happy.
Nice. Who'd you hear the good things from?
You.
Yeah, I figured. But, this is so difficult because The Witness, everyone enjoyed that puzzle, the large, basically, a puzzle game. Like, everyone enjoyed the art style and all the puzzle aspects to it of solving all of it. And figuring out what this whole damn game was about. Heard great things about Stardew Valley, where it's kind of like a mix of Harvest Moon mixed with like a Japanese dating sim, where you're harvesting and planting crops, and then also meeting people. Apparently, people really enjoyed that. Inside, which I played, which is fantastic. The people that made Limbo, Inside is a freaking great game. Little weird ending. Firewatch, again, I'd reiterate what you said, and I already said enough about Hyper Light Drifter. I don't know, this is difficult. I'm torn. I think I'm going to go Inside. I feel like that's great storytelling that they had going on, great platforming, simplistic art style, but conveyed a lot of emotion while playing the game. The ending may take away the award from it, because some people weren't sure what the ending was, and they may not enjoyed it, but I still feel like it's a phenomenal game, but that's just me. Ooh. Games for Impact Awards. So, if you didn't know, I'm gonna guess they had a typo on the website, and it's supposed to be for a thought-provoking game with a profound pro-social meaning or message. I don't know if we have anything about this that we know.
Yeah, this is completely. I recognize some of the title, like Orwell. Like I know what that means, like what that game's about just by the title, but I couldn't say anything about it.
Fuck it, I'm gonna go with Block and Hood because it kind of looks like Habbo Hotel. Moving on.
All right, I'm going with Orwell.
Orwell, okay. Best performance: Alex Hernandez as Lincoln Clay, Mafia 3. Cissy Jones as Delilah in Firewatch. Emily Rose as Elena, Uncharted 4, Thief's End. Nolan North as Nathan Drake in Uncharted 4. Rich Sumner as Henry, Firewatch. Troy Baker as Sam Drake, Uncharted 4. There's 3 Uncharted 4s. Shows how good that game is.
I'm going with Nolan North. I love his voice work. I think he's just one of the best in the business. I love that character. It's probably one of my favorite video game characters of all time. So I'm definitely going with Nolan North in this one. He's the man.
I'm going to shock you. Even though the game really didn't catch me as I wanted it to, didn't meet up to his standards. The guy that played Lincoln Clay in Mafia 3, Alex Hernandez, was fantastic. The acting is what kept this game afloat for me. It's what kept me engaged, that I wanted to keep going to play the game. At certain points, the map got too large for me to go back and forth because it was kind of boring to do the missions. But the acting acting kept me in the game for longer than I expected. I feel like Alex Hernandez as Lincoln Clay, Mafia 3 is definitely going to take the cake. But that's just me. Oh man, how many games do we have going? Holy shit. We have a lot more to go through. My voice is killing me. Best music and sound design. Let's go through these quick. Battlefield 1, Doom, Inside, Res Infinite, Thumper. 2 games on.
Battlefield 1 has tremendous sound, great gun noises, great explosion noises. The soundtrack's awesome.
Great gun noises. They always got gun noises. I'm going to go with Res Infinite because it's based on music. That's all my input on that. Even though I like the Inside soundtrack, but I picked it for indie game, so I don't know if it's going to win too. But, best art direction, Abzu. I don't know. Firewatch, Inside, Overwatch, Uncharted 4. Oh, man.
I love Uncharted 4, but I'm actually going to go with Overwatch on this one. I think it's a truly unique-looking game, and they did a great job with that sort of thing. So
I'm gonna go with Firewatch because even though this, from what I hear, storytelling-wise and everything, I feel like the art direction, the art style of Firewatch is on point. I feel like it's such a beautiful looking game. It doesn't look crystal clear like picture perfect, but it has a certain cartoonish looking art style, which is like fantastic in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Best narrative: Firewatch, Inside, Mafia 3, Oxenfree, Uncharted 4.
I'm going with Firewatch on this one, only because I think that this game, I haven't really played a lot of the other games aside from Uncharted 4. But I think this game really this is a true narrative game here. This is the game you play for the story, to advance the story. The whole game revolves around that, so I'm going with Firewatch.
That's a pretty good choice. I was thinking of going Mafia 3, but I don't know. This best narrative, it says develop storytelling and narrative development in the game, but does the gameplay affect the narrative is the question. I don't know if I can go with Mafia 3, even though the storytelling is fantastic. So I kind of have to go with Firewatch as well with this. Even though Oxenfree could take it, or Uncharted 4, but I don't know. I'm going to go with Uncharted 4. The storytelling just fantastic in that game. But I can see Firewatch taking the cake with that. Best studio/game direction: Blizzard for Overwatch, DICE for Battlefield 1, id Software for Doom, Naughty Dog for Uncharted 4, Respawn for Titanfall 2. You can go Battlefield 1 as for the fourth time?
No, I think I'm going to go Naughty Dog, only because I think they're a tremendous studio. But I also, it's a really tough choice, to be honest. I think that Blizzard has a damn good chance of winning. DICE as well. I think they all have a really good chance, but I'm going to go with Uncharted on this one. Naughty Dog.
Yeah, same. Naughty Dog is just top notch. They deserve to win every year, to be honest, in my opinion. But moving on to the final thing, Game of the Year: Doom, Inside, Overwatch, Titanfall 2, and Uncharted 4. I feel like it's a lock for me. I feel like I just know. What are you going with, Gary?
Game of the Year. See, I'm going to say Uncharted 4 again, but it's just it's so tough for me to really say it definitively. I mean, it's a great series. I don't know if it was the best entry of the series, though. That's the only reason I'm hesitant about it. I think that Uncharted 4 was a good game, or a great game even, but I just don't think it was the strongest entry of the series, which I think kind of hurts them a little bit in terms of Game of the Year. But I mean, hell, they're all great games here. I think they all have a damn good chance of winning. So
honestly, I like Uncharted 4, to be honest, the best out of all of them, but that's just me.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I don't know. I liked how they wrapped it up. I like the storytelling in this. The mystery involved in it, it felt like I could just feel myself excited to find more about all the pirates in Libertalia. Hint, that's what they're searching for. I don't know. I just really enjoyed that, and I'm going with Uncharted 4. It's shocking that Battlefield 1 was actually not mentioned in Game of the Year. It's kind of funny. I feel
that is kind of surprising.
Doom was in so many categories that we should have picked Doom at least once. But, I heard good things about it. But that was the Game of the Year selection. And that's it for the news this week, Gary. We've been going on for a while, and my throat is killing me. So, do you have anything left for the kids out there?
It's kind of what I usually say, I guess. Just keep on listening and we love it. Like I said before, our download numbers have skyrocketed.
This is what happens when you promote
things. To put it mildly. But yeah, keep on gaming. I'll be doing the same, playing some Elder Scrolls Online, playing Destiny on the weekends because that's when Trials of Osiris is around. It's the only reason to play Destiny right now. I actually started playing Oblivion again on my PS3.
Nice.
Yep, so just keep on gaming, guys. Love the fact that you guys are hanging around with us. Tweet us if you feel the urge, and we'll talk to you.
Yeah, Gary put it together pretty well. This is Two Jersey Kids, all you new listeners and current continual listeners. Please, if you enjoyed what you heard for that 1 hour and so spiel, please hit that subscribe button. If you are a new listener, please rate us on iTunes or the podcast app service that you use. It'd be fantastic. Remember, follow us on Twitter at Two Jersey Kids, and please interact with us. We would love to talk with you. We enjoy interacting with people, don't we, Gary?
Absolutely.
You can also email us questions. If you have questions, you don't want to tweet us questions. If you're nervous or shy, you can email us at twojerseykids@gmail.com, and we'll be sure to answer the questions on air if you're interested in hearing our genius opinions. But other than that, get ready for that Tuesday episode that's coming to your ears. I hope you had a great holiday and Thanksgiving, or I hope you're going to have a good weekend. But keep on gaming. We love you all. Peace out, kids. Bye.